Hi, thank you to those of you who were able to join me live for the email Q&A, and for those who could not make it, I'm sorry that my recording did not work the first time. So I am just going to record and reiterate my responses to some of the questions I got. So I won't get to all of them today, but I tried to group similar ones and make it as actionable as possible so that you can take away email nuggets and apply them to your email efforts this week. All right, so first question is, how often is too often to send emails? My response is there is no too often. As long as you have you've asked your audience, you've asked your email list, there should be some point where you ask them how often they'd like to hear from you. Listening to your donors and their preferences is very powerful. So just go ahead and open that two-way avenue of communication and ask them how often they want to hear from you. Number two, what best kinds of responses should we be looking for? Now that is going to depend on your email goals. Okay, so let's say your goal is to get more replies to an email. To get more replies to an email, your call to action needs to align with that. So at the end of your email, let's say your call to action is reply to this email and let me know that you can make it live. Reply to this email if, reply this word to this email because blah, blah, blah. Whatever is relevant to that. And then make sure you're tracking those responses. That's specifically for engagement and replying, but engagement can also look like clicking links that you include in your emails, participating in polls or surveys. So set up within your email service provider to look at who's clicking, because donor behavior or supporter behavior, it's probably not only donors you have on your email list, their behavior is communication. So take a look at who's clicking on what. Start sending some follow-ups based on that. You can even add triggers based on what they're clicking on and how that is going to start sending them more relevant content or resources, whatever. That can get a little bit more advanced, so I don't want you to overthink it, especially if your list is pretty small. Small being like maybe under 1,000. But I want you to see where that can go and see how you can use their responses to communicate with them better in the future. So again, best responses, that's going to be defined by your email goals. Okay. So let's go on to email imagery. Should I include email imagery in my emails? Yes or no? I'm going to say that depends on what you're sending. Now, imagery, as far as like if you have an event and you have a graphic up linked to the event sign up, sure, yeah, go ahead. I will say pictures of faces. So like if you and your team had an event or your organization had an event, pictures of people and faces always perform well. Definitely include those. If you send a monthly, bi-weekly newsletter, whatever, and you want to include the banner imagery up top, absolutely do that. Just make sure that the banner image is always the same for that specific, let's just say newsletter. Make sure your banner image is always the same for your newsletter. And then if you're sending something else, don't include the banner image. It might be a different layout. That way people know instantly what they're getting and what they can expect once they open your newsletter. They see the image, the banner image, and they're like, okay, I know exactly what this is. I know, or I have a gist of the things that they're going to talk to me about today. That's where that, that image banner can come in handy as far as consistency goes. All right. And then this one again was it was tying into the first question we got. I'm sending quarterly emails, but they're very inconsistent. Is that enough? My first response is no, because if you're only sending quarterly emails, and this is always my response, I have not changed this. I don't plan on changing this response unless email data shows us something totally crazy. But quarterly emails are not enough. They're not. If you think about the average touch point, 8 to 12 average touch points someone needs to become a donor. If you're only sending quarterly emails, because I don't count social media as touch points, by the way, because you can't always track that. You can't prove who saw your post. So I track emails because you can see exactly who opened your email, exactly who clicked. You could track one-on-one conversations, in-person events, things like that. I do not include social media in these touch points unless I know for a fact maybe somebody opted in from social media. That could be something you could track, but as far as posts, no. All right, so let's say they're on your email list. They don't engage with you anywhere else. You're only sending one email every 3 months. Now we're looking at like 2 years before they become a donor or a volunteer or attend one of your events. 2 years, maybe. So, I think your mission is way more important. It's so important that you should be talking about it more. My minimum that I usually recommend to start with is once per month. Twice per month is really great. Once a week is even better. There are some, of course, the bigger organizations with bigger teams, they're killing it. They maybe send a few emails a week. Don't feel like you have to get to that frequency right now. Because again, what I'm going to tell you is ask your donors or ask your email list. If you have them segmented, ask each segment, things like that. Ask them how often they want to hear from you. And then go from there. Actually talk to them that often. If they're telling you they want to hear from you once a month, send them a newsletter once a month. If they're telling you they want to hear from you every week, it might be a lot to start right now, and I get it. But work up to that. Start with once a month. And then maybe next month you send 2. And then the next month you send 3. And the next month you send 4. My point being, listen to your donors. It's very powerful. All right, next question. How to create value with bi-weekly emails that are not just a list of what we're doing. We want to encourage people to sign up, but need to communicate why they would want to. I work for a domestic violence shelter, and finding stories are difficult due to safety. Yes, I totally get that. I'm a former special ed teacher. Confidentiality and safety is something that I have carried over from that career into this one. You should only be sharing stories if you have permission. You should only be sharing photos if you have permission. Written permission from the person, the family, whoever. Otherwise, you shouldn't be sharing it. But to your point to safety, let's talk about that for a second. Telling stories when safety and confidentiality is a concern. You can always change names. You can change locations. You can be vague about, you don't have to give any details that don't need to be given, right? I think your supporters working with a DV shelter, they should understand that safety is a main priority. And I don't think that, they would have a problem with that. You could even include a disclaimer, like at the bottom of your email that says something like, names are changed for safety, or like safety is a top priority. We will never use real names and faces, something to that effect. That's going to depend on the details. And I'm assuming you have like a lawyer or legal on staff or consulted. So definitely ask them what is best to be included in the email. But you can change names and faces. Don't use a photo if you don't have permission, but what you can do is just use photos that your organization has taken. Let's say you have, you did a craft night or something, and so you have a bunch of pictures of hands or materials or artwork that some of the women have done. Use that. You can use that kind of imagery to break up the story without identifying anyone. So just some notes there on storytelling whenever things can be a little bit tricky as far as safety and legality. But that doesn't mean you can't share the stories. And on that note, a two-parter to this question: how can you focus on the outcomes? So let's say you are sharing a story and you've changed the names, there's no photos, like you're doing your best to keep your safety and confidentiality. How can you focus on the outcomes for your beneficiaries? What, was this woman, did she get a job? Was she able to move closer to other family who is supportive? Was she able to, be reunited with her kids in a safe place? Let's focus on the outcomes, because again, you don't have to share names and faces with that. You can just say, your donations have helped 5 women get a job. Your donations have helped, 10 women find a safe place to live independently. You can make that more general, but still communicate the outcomes and the impact that your organization is having. Okay. So that's my first tip. How can you focus on the outcomes? Second would be, is there something all right, you said you're sending biweekly emails, right? So what if one of your weekly emails has a theme? Let's say the second email of the month, you're sending sneak peek behind the scenes content, because I can guarantee you that a lot of your supporters really care about what you're doing, of course. Otherwise, they wouldn't be supporting you. But I highly doubt they understand what your day-to-day looks like in your organization. And so what if one of your team members, or you did a, day in the life, or behind the scenes of getting ready for this event, or behind the scenes of, when a woman with kids comes to us, we have these bags ready to go. We have bags of toys ready for the kids. We have clothes ready for the woman. What are the behind the scenes things that people don't see, that people don't know? I think this is a very good opportunity to open more engagement, get people more interested, just get people thinking about the inner workings, because again, you do this every day. This is so normal to you, but it's probably not normal to someone who has never experienced it or never worked in this area. So, I think that could be pretty cool. You don't have to worry about identifying any of the women. And this could be, just something like you only get the sneak peek if you're on our email list, and that can be enticing enough to sign up. And also, surprise, ask for their opinion. I love asking for their opinion. If you feel like, oh, I always need to come up with something, or we need help organizing this thing, or maybe you came up with a new program, but you don't know what to name it, get your email list involved. Do a poll, run a survey, gamify it a little bit. This is, again, an opportunity for connection, an opportunity for engagement. Email is a two-way conversation. Please don't think of it as you just need to send out these links and send out this stuff and people will respond. No, email is communication. And it's just a conversation. It should be a two-way conversation. And again, I'm going to go back to, that may not always look like replying to your emails. But if they click a link, that's communication. Their behavior is communication. So pay attention to what they're looking at, what content performs well, what email subject lines get the highest open rates. Pay attention to all of this stuff because it is communication. I I could talk about this forever, so I'm going to stop myself there. All right, moving on to the next question. How to re-engage lapsed donors. Yes, I am so glad you asked this because I just finished a lapsed donor re-engagement sequence for another client. So I actually had just tweaked a template that I wrote. And so I have made a copy of that if you're watching this recording, you are welcome to make a copy of this Google Doc. I will link it in the email that will be included with this video. Go ahead and make a copy. If you have some lapsed donors you want to re-engage, go ahead, make a copy of the doc, edit it however you wish, and send it. It's 5 emails. Like I just said, email's a two-way conversation. Just start the conversation. It's fine. They're on your email list. They believe in your mission. They want to hear from you. Don't feel like you're bothering people. Just talk to them. So this email sequence template will help you do that. I will link it. Like I said, go ahead, duplicate it. But my response is to just start emailing them. Start emailing them and engaging. That's going to be the best way. All right, so I'm going to move on from that to the next question. This one's from the same person. How to write a welcome drip that also helps us segment our contacts so that we know their interest. Yes, I'm so glad that you are like thinking ahead on this. So if you're not already, if you have not signed up for my 5-day email challenge, that's free. I will also link that. That is every day for 5 days, you get an email copy template and a video walkthrough from me. This will help you get started with the welcome series. Sequence, strip, whatever. They all mean the same thing. In that 5-day challenge, I don't have it to where you can segment, but that is a good point. I might include a bonus video now. But this is actually very easy, and I don't want you to overcomplicate this. So here's what I do when I write these type of email sequences for clients. First, it depends on how they're opting in. Let's say you have this resource. They opt into your email list to get the resource. In that first email, you're going to include the resource link. Then below that, let's ask 3 questions, okay? The first question is going to be something along the lines of, what brought you here today? What connects you to our mission? How did you find out about us? Something like that. How did they get connected with you? What inspires them to interact with your organization? That's what we want to find out first. Because you can use this, you can use their responses, put it in a little spreadsheet, and having your donor or supporter voice is going to help you create better marketing and fundraising materials later. This can be super powerful. So I highly recommend asking these questions, but also recording their responses. So that's the first question. What connects you to our mission? The second question is, how often do you want to hear from us? Ask them. This can be a poll in your email service provider. This can be a Google Forms that you then export to a spreadsheet. Like, this can be super simple. I want you to see that this can be simple because I want you to use email to the best of your ability to help you grow. You deserve that. Please don't get overwhelmed. Please don't overthink it. You can use this and it can be super powerful for you. And then third question, what topics do you want to hear about? So let's just say that something along the lines of what topics you want to hear about. Let's say I asked them what their favorite color is. I said, hey, what's your favorite color? Click your favorite color and I'll only send you relevant emails based on that color. Now, that person is going to click that their favorite color is blue. Up to this point in the delivery email, the very first email, everyone has gotten the same, no matter what color they say is their favorite color. They click blue. This person is going to slide over into a new email sequence, and they're only going to get emails that are relevant to their favorite color being blue. Let's say you send them 3 or 4 more emails in that welcome series. Now, the second person clicked that their favorite color was green. They're not going to get the same emails that the person who said their favorite color was blue got. The green people are going to get a separate email sequence. You're going to slide the green people over, send them different emails that are relevant to their favorite color being green. Now, depending on what email service provider you have, these are called different things: groups, segments, tags. Well, here's the thing. Segments and tags aren't exactly the same. So let's just say groups and tags. I don't recommend segmenting your audience till maybe you have 1,000 or more subscribers. You might be at that point, in which case segments are super helpful. Those are just a little bit more advanced, but groups and tags will help you segment later if you're not ready to segment yet. So I use Kit. In Kit, tags and segments are not the same thing. But if I tag a subscriber who tells me that their favorite color is blue, it automatically puts them in the blue tag. Now, I can choose what emails to send to the blue tag. Same thing with if somebody told me that their favorite color was green. So I know exactly who to send emails to just because they clicked a link. Okay, so I hope you see how this can work. And again, I can't get into the nitty-gritty because it's going to depend on what platform you use. But I do want you to see that, one, it can be automated, and 2, it can be very simple. You could even send them iterations of the same email sequence and, just rewritten to talk about things that the people who love blue care about and then things that the people who love green care about. So I hope that simplifies it a little bit and gives you hope that you don't have to spend a million hours doing this. It can be very simple. It will just take a little bit of time and know-how within the back end of your email service provider, but it's super possible. Again, email is a conversation. Start the conversation, connect, engage. That's what this is about, right? Your donors, your supporters, they're people on the other end of this. This is just a conversation. Okay. Again, thank you for those who could come live. If you couldn't, no big deal. I hope that me nerding out about email marketing for 20 minutes has been helpful for you. And as always, my inbox is open. My LinkedIn messages are open. Feel free to respond, message me. I love connecting, and I'm very glad that you joined me today in this email Q&A.